All right, so we are back today with our final chapter of Because of Winn, Dixie. Today is day 145. It's Friday, April 24th. And today our objective is to be able to determine the central message of a text. Now remember, we did this of a chapter before, and there are more than one word that you can use for a central message. So I want to make sure that I make that clear first. They all mean the same thing. The central message is the same thing as the theme, the lesson, or the message that the author wants you to learn. So it's what the author wants you to learn. Now, a universal theme or lesson is something that can be used in the world today. So it shouldn't include any character names. The lesson should be something that you can learn yourself and you can use in your own life too. And the ways that we're going to identify the message is first we're going to identify what was the problem, what was the solution, and then you're going to ask yourself, what did the character learn in this story? So again, we're not thinking of just chapter 26 today, we're thinking of the entire story. What did the character learn? Then you're going to ask yourself, what does the author want you to learn? So like you as the reader, what does the author want you to learn from the story, and how can you use that lesson in your own life? And then finally, you determine the central message of the story. So here are some examples of different ones. Believe in yourself. Never give up. Respect yourself and others. Friendships come in different forms. Don't judge a book by its cover. Hard work pays off. Those are lessons you can use in your own life. If you learned this in the story, hard work pays off, you can relate that to your own life. By working hard in school, you get good grades, you get into good schools, you get a good job, like all of those things add on, and you can use that in your own life just like it might be used in the book. So today we're going to be working on thinking of the book as a whole after we read chapter 26. What was evident throughout the whole story as the lesson that the author was trying to teach you through Opal and her experiences. So without further ado, let's read chapter 26 and see how this story ends. Chapter 26. Outside, the rain had stopped, and the clouds had gone away, and the sky was so clear it seemed like I could see every star ever made. I walked all the way back to the back of Gloria Dump's yard. I walked back there and looked at her mistake tree. The bottles were quiet, there wasn't a breeze, so they were just hanging there. I looked at the trees, and then I looked up at the sky. "Mama," I said, just like she was standing right beside me. "I know 10 things about you, and that's not enough. That's not near enough. But Daddy is going to tell me more. I know he will. Now that he knows you're not coming back. He misses you, and I miss you, but my heart doesn't feel empty anymore. It's full all the way up. I'll still think about you, I promise, but probably not as much as I did this summer." That's what I said the night underneath Gloria Dump's mistake tree. And after I was done saying it, I just stood staring up at the sky, looking at the constellations and planets. And then I remembered my own tree, the one Gloria had helped me plant. Right here. I hadn't looked at it for a long time. I went crawling around on my hands and knees searching for it. And when I found it, I was surprised at how much it had grown. It was still small. It still looked like a plant than a tree. But the leaves and the branches felt real strong and good and right. And I was down there on my knees when I heard a voice say, "Are you praying?" I looked up. It was Dunlap. "No," I said. "I'm not praying. I'm thinking." He crossed his arms and looked down at me. "What about?" he asked. "All kinds of different things," I said. "I'm sorry that I called you and Stevie bald-headed babies." That's all right," he said. "Gloria told me to come out here and get you." "I told you she wasn't a witch." "I know it," he said. "I knew it all along. I was just teasing you." "Oh," I said. I looked at him close. It was hard to see him good in the dark yard. "Ain't you ever going to stand up?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. And then he surprised me. He did something I never in a million years thought a Dewberry boy would do. He held out his hand to help me up, and I took it. "I'll race you back to the house," Dunlap said, and he started to run. "Okay," I shouted, "but I'm warning you, I'm fast. We ran and I beat him. I touched the corner of Gloria Dump's house right before he did. You shouldn't be running around in the dark, said Amanda. She was standing on the porch looking at us. You could trip over something. Ah, Amanda, said Dunlap, and he shook his head. Ah, Amanda, I said too. And then I remembered Carson, and I felt bad for her. I went up on the porch and took hold of her hand and pulled on her. Come on, I said. Let's go inside. India Opal, Daddy said when me and Amanda and Dunlap walked in. Are you here to sing some songs with us? Yes, sir, I said. Only I don't know that many songs. We'll teach you, he said. He smiled at me real big. It was a good thing to see. That's right, said Gloria Dump. We will. Sweetie Pie was still sitting in her lap, but her eyes were closed. Care for a litmus lozenge? Miss Franny asked, passing me the bowl. Thank you, I told her. I took a litmus lozenge and unwrapped it in my mouth. Do you want a pickle? Otis asked, holding up his big jar of pickles. No, thank you, I said. Not right now. Winn Dixie came out from underneath Gloria Dump's chair. He sat down next to me and leaned into me the same as I was leaning into my daddy. And Amanda stood right there beside me, and when I looked over at her, she didn't look so pinch-faced at all to me. Dunlap cracked his knuckles and said, Well, are we going to sing or what? Yeah, Stevie echoed. Are we going to sing or what? Let's sing, said Sweetie Pie, opening her eyes and sitting up straight. Let's sing for the dog. Otis laughed and strummed his guitar, and the flavor of the litmus lozenge opened in my mouth like a flower blooming, all sweet and sad. And then Otis and Gloria and Stevie and Miss Franny and Dunlap and Angie and Amanda and Sweetie Pie and my dad all started to sing a song. And I listened careful so I could learn it right. And that is the end of Because of Winn Dixie. So I want you to think particularly of like the end of this chapter, and then I want you to think about what happened in the story throughout the entire thing to kind of think about what you think the central message might be. Now, before we do that, I want us to think about identifying what the problem in the text was. Now, in the end of the chapter, or in the end of the book, we know the problem was that Winn Dixie was missing. And that problem was fixed by everybody working together to help find her. The preacher and Opal went out looking for her, and then the people inside of the house ended up finding her by singing their songs and hearing him and looking for Winn Dixie, and they ended up finding him. Now, in the beginning of the text, I want you to think back all the way, and I know that's a far way to think. What was Opal's problem in the very beginning of the story? Thinking. Okay, so I think the problem in the beginning of the story was Opal didn't have any friends, and she was really missing her mom. Now, how did she fix that problem? I want you to think about it. Think in your head. How did she fix that problem? So when she met Winn Dixie actually helped her fix that problem because Winn Dixie went into all these different places. He would just run off and help her meet friends. And so that's how they fixed the problem, was by meeting all of the friends, and she wasn't lonely anymore. She didn't miss her friends or miss her mom, and she was having fun with all these different people in the town. So now I want you to think about these last 3 steps, and I'm not going to answer them. I want you to think, what did the character learn in this story? So what did Opal learn in this story? And then how can you use that lesson in your own life? So while you're doing this, now I want you to think throughout the whole story, what was she learning? Did she learn to believe in herself? Did she learn that friendships come in many different forms? Did she learn to respect herself, or did she learn not to judge a book by its cover? Now I want you to really think about, what was this book mostly about? What did Winn Dixie help her do? And then I want you to think about, so once you do that, choose your answer. You can either highlight it or you can fill it in right here. Right, the correct answer is. Then I want you to choose 1 or 2 events in the story that made you think that this was the central message. So think about 1 or 2 things that happened in the story, not from chapter 26 necessarily. It can be, but one or two things that helped you think that your answer is correct. And then I want you to think about how can you use this lesson in your own life. And that is it for today. I am so excited to see what you think the lesson of the story is. There is only one right answer, so make sure you really think, what was this story mostly about? What was the author trying to teach you through Opal? All right, choose your answer, find your event, and then explain how you can use this lesson in your own life. And I'm so excited to see your answers. Talk to you on Monday. We are going to be starting a new novel, and I'm really excited for that too. Bye.